Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 330 at scavengerlife.com.
Welcome back, Ryan.
We're back.
Yep. So we have just completed 6 weeks of traveling.
Yeah.
It seems like it was much longer than that, but let's go over it. Iceland.
Yep.
Copenhagen.
Yep. Norway.
2 weeks driving around Norway and Sweden.
Yep.
Stockholm. Vienna. And then we just went to San Francisco for a week
We went to
do
Munich
a job.
for one night.
Yep. And then the good thing is about that is that net we made money the entire time if we think of the video jobs we did plus selling eBay the whole time and renting our holiday rentals.
Right. So all our businesses were
going.
going.
Yep. So overall, how do you feel about all that traveling?
Overall? It's a complicated question.
Yeah, I feel like you got a bit stressed about all the traveling.
Yeah, I was stressed.
Because
I enjoyed myself. That's not in question.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was a lot of traveling and a bunch of work.
yeah.
After coming off like a serious year of renovation.
It's definitely a lot of like scavenger travel where, it was a mix of work and pleasure. You know, it's different if we were just like staying in 5-star hotels and,
and like doing nothing.
Plus,
I mean, that's not.
Plus also the way, we planned that trip, that 3-week trip in Europe, or at least I am, very kind of casual about it. It took about 2 hours. I was like, let's just rent a car and we'll like drive around these 5 places. And it turned out okay, but it wasn't
I think also like the last time we did that was in Ireland. And Ireland, relative to Scandinavia, is pretty small. I mean, we would do 6-hour driving days in Ireland, but it's so chill.
Yeah.
But like, dude, Norway and Sweden are huge countries.
Right. They're a long country, so driving up and down them take a long time.
So I'm like, wow, this is like a serious road trip.
But it's net. This is my dream. I've always dreamed of having a life where I can be making money while we travel. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah.
I also love that, we go and we're on these weird places and, it's moving around. And then we come home and I'm just so excited to like do eBay. Yeah. Nothing could make me more happy than just focusing on selling stuff online. Yeah. Because it breaks up our pattern, and now I just want to get back into just like the calm, it's meditative state of just doing eBay.
Well, what's interesting is Stephen Schultz actually commented on the forum the other day, and he was like, if you've built a life that you really like at your like home base, then that's what's exciting to get back to. Like if you're like, life is so boring, I can't wait to go on vacation. Sometimes it feels like that after like 6 months or so. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to like do a little trip here and there. But when you're like in cool Europe, in San Francisco, but you're like, I really want to get home. That's a good sign, Yeah. Like I want to get home to like the cool stuff we're doing, which is a cool feeling, it's a good feeling to be like, no, I like what I'm doing at home. I want to get back to it and keep it going.
I think the other thing too is that both of us do enjoy to travel. We're trying to travel better or smarter or just easier, more efficient.
Yes.
And so like in Europe, we already traveled pretty light. Like we each had like a kind of a smallish backpack. They were about 25 pounds each.
Not small enough.
Not small enough. But, enough to where we don't check anything in.
Right.
It fits above our heads. And I remember in Europe, we were like, we can do better than this.
Well, we were like, my bag, your bag was not quite 25 pounds. I think yours was under. It was like 17. 25 pounds. I'm like, what the hell's in this bag?
So when we came back, while we were overseas, we were researching it and we started buying things on eBay and sometimes on Amazon and having them mailed back to our house. So when we came home that week before we went to San Francisco, we changed everything and we both had like just a little small day packs.
basically like a book bag, like
Right.
not these massive book bags that kids have like on wheels nowadays, but
Right.
like just a little lightweight
Like
knapsack.
a day pack, and each of our bags were 12 pounds or something.
I think we cut our weight in half,
Right.
like less than
And
half.
the key is, especially for me, since I don't like to fly,
Yeah.
was that allowed us to wait to be the last people to board the plane.
Right.
So I'm not involved in all the scrum of everyone jammed in
stressful.
there and fighting over overheads. We could be
We didn't need overhead space.
right. We could be the last people, sit down and put all of our stuff underneath the seat in front of us, and then like the plane takes off. And
Yeah, like you're ready to go.
It's kind of my dream. And
Yeah.
and I mean, we won't go too long into this. So people are like, well, how do you only pack that much stuff? The key is to buy clothes that are made out of, if it's nylon or polyester,
Right.
which I know sounds gross, but they actually make some really good
Nowadays, there's
clothes.
some like high
A
tech.
lot of it's like athletic clothes.
Yeah.
And then we would just wash our clothes every night in the shower.
Right.
And then just put them out to hang dry the next day.
So that's the key is if you can, like, if you don't have to pack, you know, we were in San Francisco for like 7 days. 7 days worth of clothes changes.
Right. And different shoes and, you know.
Yeah, like none of that. I actually think I talked to Jay about this. I was like, I think I might make a video about how we did it
Right.
because I haven't really seen people just be like, this is it. This. It goes in this little packing cube. You buy them on Amazon.
Right.
And that is all the clothes you're bringing.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, packing cubes are cool. They're just these like it's little zip up
Like
square nylon
bags.
things that have like a mesh on the front, so you just stuff all of it, your clothes or stuff in there, so your bag doesn't just explode when you open
clothes.
it. It's just got this neat little.
Those are great. At
Yeah.
first, I was like, I don't need those. And I'm like, no.
So I
Those are the
get it.
best.
Not everyone can probably travel like that, but if you're into just traveling light and on the go, especially when you're in Europe or when we were, oftentimes we're having to walk around.
Right.
And you don't want to be one of those people. I mean, there's just so many of these tourists who have like these huge rolly cart, things
Rolly
like
bags.
when they're just like bumbling along the cobblestones, and then they also have like a huge like hiker's backpack, and then like
Filled with stuff.
and then it's like a little small backpack on the front, like they're hanging.
We saw that
as
one
like
girl.
a little baby.
Yep, that
Yep.
girl was. We were like, no.
Which I get, because people think like, oh, well, I'm traveling, I need all this stuff. I get that, but really,
You don't.
What we've learned is that we can travel light, and in 90% of the world, you can just buy anything that you need.
Yeah, like when we were in where were we? Were somewhere in Norway. Oh, we were in Stockholm, and I was like, you know what? My socks are ridiculous. They're big and cotton, and they're old. And I was like, I'm just gonna get these tiny pack of like quick
Yeah.
dry socks at
I think
H&M.
we went to H&M and
Yeah, I
bought
was like, I'm getting rid of my socks. I can't carry this many socks right now.
I bought a cool hat. Like a cool,
Yeah, you
like,
bought a hat because
from a bald head.
you were like, why don't I have a hat with
Right.
me?
So anyway,
So.
that had been exciting.
But so the takeaway is it makes traveling less stressful because you don't have overhead bags, you don't have big rolly carts. If you're like, we can't check into our Airbnb until 4 hours from now, doesn't matter. You have this tiny little backpack, walk around the city like you normally would, go do
Right.
whatever, have lunch. So it makes you very nimble, and it feels a lot better. Like when we took a lift to the airport yesterday from downtown San Francisco to the San Francisco airport, and our Lyft driver was like, I just picked up 2 people and all their bags took up my entire trunk. So, because he called us before he
Yeah.
picked us up, and he's like, so I'm hoping you don't have any bags like that. We're like, nope, we
Yep.
have tiny little backpacks that can fit on our laps. He's like, okay.
Yep.
So anyway, that we kind of learned our lesson, even though, look, we've been traveling around the world since like 2005. And just now I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is, and I'll wrap it up, it's with this, there's all kinds of blogs of people that just
Yeah.
focus on this stuff. So these are all not new ideas.
We
They were
learned from
just-
those people.
These were just things that we learned about ourselves. We actually discovered someone that I'm sure people it's know about. It's Rick Steves.
He's on public access, public television, right?
Yeah,
He does
so
a PBS
he's
show.
on PBS, which I've heard his name. I think he's been around since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But actually, we were hearing some podcasts of his, and he's like he's like my hero now. He's like,
absolutely.
I wear like one pair of pants. I put everything in a small day pack. You're good to go. You know.
Well, and he was all about he has like a couple seminars on YouTube, and everyone's just like, you don't need a lot of stuff.
I'm all about it's Rick Steves.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to briefly touch on is, I don't know, I think we kind of talked about it some, but like as we are developing It's Just Life, like we started an eBay business.
Yeah.
It's for us. We invested that money in rentals. That's doing well for us. And we're financially doing better than we were in 2008, 8 years ago. And now I think I'm constantly asking myself, what's the point of it? Like, what is...
Why?
Yeah, why? What do we want out of this? What's the... for instance, we talked about this because we had some moments of deep stress during these past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Just a lot going on. And, it's questioning, why are we doing all this stuff?
Yeah, why are we working ourselves so hard that we're
why are we taking video businesses? Why are we worrying about, keeping our store open and, all these things? And so, I said we could have, back in 2008, we bought our first house in cash. It's foreclosure, and we fixed it up with cash from eBay. We had an eBay business, we had a house paid off, and we could have just been done.
Right.
We could have just had a house paid off, and then just had a small eBay business to make enough to buy stuff every month. We don't need more than, especially if we don't have any kind of mortgage payments. We only need $1,000-$1,200 a month.
And I bet if we were
and live very frugally,
hackers, we could bring that down.
I mean, where our lives would have been totally, so, but we've chosen to kind of take on different things, and and as we have more, it's money. The big question is what do we want to spend it on? And I don't really have any answers here, but I think that's always good for people who are thinking of starting their own businesses, because I feel again, I always say this about the people wanting to create empires. It seems that's the obvious, we've got to do that. And
well, I mean,
I think we're always questioning ourselves about that.
I think the issue is when people are I want to make so much money during the every year and whatever, the typical modern American thing is better car, bigger house, buy a vacation house for yourself. Those things are what people want to attain normally. And when you're not like that, and you're no, my house is fine, my car is fine.
Yeah, my clothes are fine.
I shop at the thrift store. So you're why? Yeah. Like you said, what is the purpose beyond, just the regular everyday bills when you're a scavenger? It's a different mentality of life.
Well, I think that the thing too about being frugal kind of goes hand in hand oftentimes with being a scavenger. And the cool thing about being frugal is because we don't often buy ourselves luxuries. Yeah. When we do buy something, it's actually a real treat, and it makes it more special. Right. So when we go out to eat, it's a relatively big deal. Yeah. And we kind of really enjoy it. Right. If if we were just eating out every single night, it's kind of big deal. If we're buying a new pair of shoes every other day, it's not a big deal.
It's just whatever.
When I buy a new pair of shoes, actually I just bought a pair of shoes. It's not a new pair, but a pair on eBay.
Right.
They're
lightly used.
They're $90. I got it for $30. It's going to be really exciting to me.
Well, trust me, so I bought a pair of shoes too. They're travel shoes, slip-on, athletic kind of hiking shoes. I spent $40, and they're used. But new, they're $140. So you're
it's exciting.
But for us, we're $40 for a pair of shoes.
So anyway, I just wanted to, anyone who's there was a guy that just joined its forum, and he says, he's just kind of starting on this process of becoming an eBay person or person that sells online, and his goal is to like put his kids through college.
Right, exactly.
He didn't really give a lot of details, so I don't know if that's like happening now or if they're small and he's trying to save up. But you know, like those goals are good. It's good to always ask like why you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because when you work for it yourself, that's an important question to ask. You know,
Right.
Because when we work for other people, there really isn't a chance to ask that it's question. It's just like I've got this job and I work as hard as they make me work. You know,
Right.
like. But when you work for it yourself, you can either work really, really hard or
Well,
not
and
that hard, you know?
the other thing too is when you work really, really hard, like we have for the last 10 years, it starts to pay off and you start to see the profits and you're like, oh, what are we going to do with all this? You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, is it invest in real estate? Is it, you know, go on trips? Is it pay for your kids' college? Yeah, it's like, what's important to you that you worked so hard that you're just like so exhausted right now?
And to be clear, we would be paying for a kiddie college.
Those cats are not going to college.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about eBay.
Yes.
So I mentioned this several weeks ago, and it seems like it's a done deal. It's permanent.
Yeah.
On the active page,
Active listing.
on the seller's hub, when you go to active listing, they've now changed that page. I see no way to revert it back.
Nope.
Some people said that they were able to like figure out how to flip it back, but I think it's a done deal.
Yeah, it's
What do
going
you
to
think,
change
Ryan?
eventually.
What do you think of it?
Well, I hate it because it only allows me to edit 200 items at a time. There used to be a drop-down menu where you could say 1 through 500, 501 through 1,000.
Right.
It was just this drop-down menu.
Well, the way eBay, I think, would answer that would be you need to have policies, right?
Business policies.
Business policies.
Right. So,
But the problem with those is that those are not as specific as we want to be able to manually control our store. And the business policies I find are it's fuzzy, where you can build these policies.
right. So it's like, do I need like 15 business policies for each kind of shipping thing that
Right.
I'm just like, I don't know.
So other than that, how do you
It seems to function exactly the same as it was before.
Okay, so it's not faster.
No.
Right, because even when you go and change like 200 items on the store, it brings up the old thing,
The bulk
right?
editor. Yeah, it's the bulk editor hasn't
Right.
changed. So you're like, this is the same back end. You just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they did. They like just made it look different.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about how eBay was even for us in 2008,
Yeah.
between now, I feel like they've definitely changed the look and feel. Although you'll always end up on those old eBay pages
Every
that
once
have
in a
like the
while.
old fonts and the old things, so they're slowly kind of changing it, you know.
The functionality. It's like when they did like the seller's hub or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but it still links to all these old pages, so who cares?
Right.
You know, I mean, the seller's hub is fine. I find stuff there. I'm like, okay, this is my link to this such thing, but
it is strange. It
funny.
feels like they kind of they kind of add these it's new things, but they are not like fully thought out.
No, not
It
at
feels
all.
like they kind of work here, but then these other things don't work.
They roll things out slowly
Yeah.
and with like just a few sellers too. And
I mean, to their credit, eBay, continues to work. I know people complain about, tiny little bugs, but I guess they're just, I guess in their mind, they're like, as long as it pretty much works, we're happy. So
I mean, if you really think about it though, it's just kind of like, how many sales did I make today? A bunch. So who cares?
that's all that matters.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it looks different.
Yep.
Do not care. Can I print a shipping label? Yes.
And I do give credit to, because we know it's what it's like to work on like a big site. It's like this, and I give credit to people trying to, trying to make something usable and trying to listen to their management and all the meetings they've got to sit through.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's a behemoth.
Yep.
It's not like a little nimble startup. Like, it's eBay,
So this is the other thing that I don't really know how prevalent this is yet, but in the new seller update that happened this fall, eBay they kind of hid the information, but that they're kind of making a buy box.
Like Amazon.
Like an Amazon buy box. They're not calling it that. They're calling
Is that what Amazon calls it? The
product
buy box?
pages.
Yeah. Or they don't officially
I assume
call that.
Amazon calls it that. That's what everyone does call it.
Yeah.
You know? And that means that eBay is making pages like Amazon has, where if you have a new item, everyone will share the same page.
Right.
And then eBay's algorithm will put whoever in the top spot. So if someone hits buy, they'll buy from them. And, that means that if you have that top spot, you're going to get like 90% of the sales. And
right.
people would actually have to click into it to really try and find other people's stuff.
It's like on Amazon when it's like see it from these other sellers.
And as far as a buyer goes, it's like other people have said, I think that's great because,
oh yeah,
on Amazon it's like, okay, everyone is selling the same iPod case from the same factory.
Right.
Now everyone's just competing on price. So just show me the best price. And, on eBay, it's like everyone's selling the same.
And there's 10,000
commodity
listings.
Items, and there's 10,000
and you're just
listings.
like lowest price, fastest shipping.
Right.
Like I
don't really care.
Is it from the US or is it from China shipping directly?
So I guess if you're selling commodity items on eBay, that's probably not a fun thing because competition is going to be much more. It's brutal now,
right?
Just like on Amazon.
But it's so much better for the buyer. Like as a buyer, I buy stuff on eBay all the time, and I'm like. And
we are scavengers. We sell mainly like 99% only used items that we've scavenged in the world. I mean, to me, like that is eBay for me.
Right.
But in reality, I think the numbers people were throwing around was its market on eBay is only 20.
It's about 20%.
80% of their sales comes from brand new commodity items.
And they need to fix how people shop because compared to Amazon, it is kind of a mess.
I mean, I kind of just feel like eBay, I just hope that they just kind of ignore our world. Like, just keep it the way it is.
Yeah,
it's fine. And then just focus on all that other stuff, and I'll be happy. Like, because it just seems to work the way it works now. Like, so those product pages or those buy boxes don't seem like they could be on used items because everyone's used item is in a different condition, and
also like
we couldn't share a picture.
With new items, it's probably categorized by the UPC.
Right.
So a used item, you're like. Is it by the title? My title is different than someone
That's why eBay's really been into like they're demanding
the UPC,
new items have a UPC. So.
That's exactly.
So I'm actually going to put a link to what it's one of those product pages is like, so you can see it's what it looks like.
A lot like Amazon.
Okay, people should know this by now, but if you have a store subscription on eBay, you can get your free supplies.
Yes.
It's with the eBay coupon.
Now, they hide the coupon, and they don't tell you about it. Like, I have not gotten an email for this quarter.
I think we did. We did get an email.
From eBay?
Yeah, it was a message that came through, but it was like a week after you were allowed to actually start buying it. And
But do you ever notice like some eBay messages don't go to email because that one did not get email. It's just in my inbox.
Right.
So to me, I don't check my inbox. I check my email and then I go.
And
to
so
my
if it gets hidden in all the offers and questions, it can get lost.
So anyway, where's the coupon.wordpress.com is a fellow scavenger, and you can sign up for an email. Like, he has an email list that will ping you the minute you can buy those supplies. Right. And he links to where you get the coupon. Right.
So it's great. I mean, it's what great. eBay should have.
I know. You're like, eBay, he did this for you.
But, so all complaining aside, it is really cool. I mean,
it's amazing.
People complain about all the fees, and I get that. So anyway, but the fees it's what they are. But we get $150 for our Anchor store and the $50 coupons for our.
So we get $200 worth of free supplies, and I ordered.
It's on our back porch. It's right now. There's huge boxes of what?
Poly mailers, whatever they call them, bubble mailers. They call them air jackets. I'm like, what? And boxes. Right. I mean, those little boxes. It's like the 6x4 by 5 or whatever. I don't even know what they are. I use those all the time because I ship little weird first class items, and those boxes are perfect.
You can buy tape, although we have more tape than we can use.
I've overbought tape.
You can buy like the soft paper.
Like tissue. It's eBay branded. Right. So here's the thing. eBay is competing with Amazon on branding on boxes. That is exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they should have been doing for a really long time. But they knew that no one would buy it. It's like, I'm going to reuse Amazon boxes. Like, you're like, why? But now you put the eBay tape over it, and it doesn't look like Amazon.
because I guess eBay would say that us as a seller, it would behoove us to promote eBay so more people buy on eBay. Yeah. But at the same time, if we're running a small it's business, that's not, you
scavenge box.
eBay's in charge of advertising. I'm in charge of customer service.
And that's why they give the stuff for free. Right. So because they want eBay tape all over everything. They want the boxes to say eBay. Yeah. They want the poly mailers to say eBay. And they should. Yep. And they should give them for free. Yep. And they do. So it's awesome.
So if you have not... If we can find that link, I'll put a link on the blog just so you can find your coupon if you have a store subscription.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers. We were gone all week, and we had our store. We changed our handling time to 5 business days.
Yes.
We would send a message when somebody bought. Nobody canceled their order.
Yay!
We have 57 things to ship.
Yep, it's 57.
So you're going to be shipping that.
Stuff sold today, too, so it's almost 60.
And we made about $1,600, which is great. I mean, that's what I'm talking about like having a big inventory.
That's why you don't want to shut your store down when you're away for a week.
I love that.
Yeah.
The only thing we could do better is to hire someone to ship it for us, and we're kind of talking about that. There's some infrastructure we have to do.
Yeah.
So. Our highest item was a $100 pair of vintage boots, which is great.
Yes.
We had a return, which is fine. The good thing is when eBay's done it well now, so when someone wants to return an item when we're gone, eBay sends you its messages. This person wants to return it. Approved. This person shipped it. This
Here's
person
the tracking.
The item has arrived.
Right.
So we know it's there. I guess it's kind of dangerous just to give them a refund right away because we haven't seen it. But I mean, we've never really had a problem with someone like spilling paint all over it. So we just give them their money back.
Yeah.
And close that case.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I did on the return.
Yep. We sold one thing on Bonanza, which is nice. And then on our second store, our second store started out as an experiment. Now it's just kind of like an autopilot store.
Yeah.
It's got 1,100 items in it now. Like it had 1,500 items at one point. We have not listed in that store for months.
Yep.
And we only sold 3 things for $96.
That's all right. Yeah, so that store, it has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes it's like almost as much as the other store. Right. You're like, how'd that happen?
But I mean, if we still think of it as an experiment, it does kind of take away credence from people that say, if you don't do anything on a store, you're not going to have any it's sales. I mean, we almost on a regular basis make $1,000 a month off that store without touching it.
It's great.
So I don't know. It is what it is. Things we sold, just a couple of things I'll mention. We sold a saddle for $70.
Yeah.
This is from like a group of saddles we bought like over a year ago.
4 saddles.
Yeah, a woman, her daughter rode horses, and she had these 4 kind of small person saddles.
Small person.
And I made a deal with her, and I bought them all 4 for $100.
So they were $25.
I thought, I don't know anything about these things. I was like, oh, I made out like a bandit.
Well, we've sold saddles for a lot of money before, so we were like, yeah, saddles.
I think I think the saddles we had sold before were just kind of like older antique saddles that someone would just buy and they would put up like on a wall or something.
But there was another saddle that was an adult size saddle that was like a technical,
True.
like leather and nylon.
That also had a fancy brand.
It had a
on
fancy
it.
brand,
Right.
but these have no brands on them.
Right, and they're young people.
They're smaller.
And people have tried to give us advice about it, about why they don't sell. So we get it. We've sold 2 now. We sold this one for $70. We made our money back with some profit. These other 2, I think I'm just going to try and dump. I'm just going to
like, I want them out of my storage.
Yeah, they just take up too much space. And, it's lesson learned.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll mention we sold was some fabric art.
This was actually our highest price item. You said a pair of boots was our highest price item, but this was about $10 more than those. What is it called? Marashuka?
Shuka, a fabric art. It's from Minnesota.
It's from Michigan. Oddly, it sounds very exotic and Scandinavian.
And it kind of has that style of bright colors and like
animals and just like cool mid-century prints. Like I've bought and sold these before, and I've even kept some for myself. And my mom has a bunch at her house. Like they're just cool.
Yep.
And they're hard to find.
I saw it just hanging on a junky thrift store wall. It had $3 on it, and like everyone was just ignoring it. And it was just like a glowing.
It just stood
I was
out.
like,
yeah,
I need that right now.
And it's a panda bear, which I've never like. The most common patterns of this brand are like ocean themed, so it's like a seashell, and like birds and like sailboats. Like you'll see those all over eBay, but this like cool, like bright panda bear with like bamboo stalks next to it, I'm like, that's cool. So it sold for $110.
Cool. Customer issues.
Yeah.
So we sold a
duvet cover. So let me tell the story of this duvet cover. This is a funny story.
Ryan's excited about this.
Yeah. So we bought a beautiful king size bed for the new rental. Bed plus gorgeous mattress.
On Craigslist.
For $500 from this couple that was like moving to Japan. And they were like, oh, we're going to give you this duvet cover too. It's from Restoration Hardware. It's 100% linen. And in my mind, I was like, either I'm going to use this at the new house because it's beautiful, or I'm going to sell it. So I looked up the prices of these Restoration Hardware 100% linen duvet covers, and they cost over $300.
It's like, who are these people?
I'm like, first of all, I'm definitely selling this. I don't need something this fancy, high end. So we sold it for $250. Which to me, we got an offer in the first week. We got an offer of $175, and Jay's like, "I cannot believe you didn't take that."
It was one of those things where I was like, "All right, let's take it," and you had already countered. I was
no
like,
way.
"No way!"
Because new, it's over $300, right? Yeah. So this person buys it for $250. We send it to them. They say a button is missing.
Right.
And we're like, are you for real? She says she wants to return it.
And so it's my nightmare of like, yeah. So we did what other sellers have made suggestions on. I wrote her and I said, we'll give you an immediate $25 refund, so you can take it to a tailor or
and have
whatever.
Them replace the button.
I was crossing my fingers, but sometimes people just make up those excuses because they decide they don't want it, and they don't want to have to pay to send it back. She, thank God, wrote back and said, that's a great way to handle this. No problem. And we gave her $25 and we're done.
Right, because a $250 duvet cover, you're like, I do not want that back, and I don't want to try to resell it. Like, it's a rare person that's going to pay that much for a duvet cover.
Yeah.
And so, thank God, we were like, here's a $25 button, basically.
Yeah. So that was a good outcome.
That was a great outcome.
Yep. Okay, so things we learned in the its forum. It was really helpful for me this week of working. It was it's monotonous kind of job of video work. So it was fun to kind of read people talking on the its forums. It made me feel like active in my other life.
Yes, exactly.
But a couple things that I thought were interesting. So there's this theory, or it's actually a hypothesis, because it hasn't been proven yet, that if someone makes an offer on an item, all the watchers of that item get a notification. And people come up with these apocryphal stories of like, I had this item.
Right.
Someone made an offer on it. I like slept on the offer, so I didn't immediately take it. And then someone bought it for full price. And so the idea is those watchers must get in, a notification. But the thing is, there's no proof of this. It's an apocryphal story, which means that it's just an assumption that people are being made. Someone came on its forum and said, well, let's do a real test. Someone watch an item of mine.
Right.
And then someone else is making an offer. And the person who is watching it, why don't we see if they get
a message?
So supposedly that experiment was happening, but we haven't actually heard back.
If they got a message, yeah.
Now, my apocryphal story is simply that I watch a lot of things on eBay.
Right, me too.
Like, I watch a lot of things to see if I can get a better deal, or just to see if an item that we have, if it sells for somebody else.
Right.
I have never, not once, gotten a message from eBay that says, this item has an offer.
I've never
Would you like
message.
to make an offer? I think that'd be a great idea. I've never seen that. The only emails I've ever gotten from eBay when it's watching an item is, this item that it's watching is going to end soon.
Right.
Or this item that you watched is up again.
Right. It's been relisted.
That's it.
Yep.
So again, it's one of those things. I love people trying to figure things out, but you just got to do a real experiment. And so I'd love to hear if
anyone's got if someone has gotten that email, I want to see a screenshot of it.
And send us a screenshot,
because that'd be awesome. That would be great.
Yeah,
I hope they do that.
My hypothesis is simply that if you have an item where someone makes an offer and then all of a sudden someone buys it outright, my hypothesis is that your item got a link to on like a blog, on a design blog, or on a forum where people buy that kind of stuff.
Or the algorithm pushed it up and 4 people saw it. And one person bought it.
Right.
Like
that to me is more of a likely thing. It got cycled
through and,
So, put your evidence down. All right. The other thing is we were talking about, and we've kind of talked about this many, many times, but I find it interesting.
Yes.
Is the wholesale world, like doing a store where you sell wholesale stuff versus people that is like us who are doing scavenging.
Right.
And then there's some people that do both. But we're definitely all about scavenging.
Yeah. And
the only, and the people who are wholesale is like, I don't want to have to like take photos. I don't want to have to list. I want to find an item that I can buy from a supplier, or maybe even directly from a factory in China. I want to take a picture of it. I want to put it on eBay or Amazon. And then when I just want to sell. And when my count gets too small, I'll buy a whole new shipment of stuff. Yep. So maybe I might only have like 10 things in it's my store, but I'm selling multiples of each.
Right.
My profit is really, really small per item, but I sell a lot. So it's a different world. It's not us. I think one reason why I love to sell the way we do is like I often feel like we're generating something out of it's nothing.
Right.
I mean, obviously, these things that we scavenge in the world aren't just, pieces of air.
Right.
It is a real thing, but in society's mind, it's the way we find it's just stuff. It's almost like people don't think it's worth anything.
Well, it's undervalued.
Right.
It's overlooked. It's underestimated.
And oftentimes it's right on the edge of going in the garbage.
Right.
I mean, we do go to auctions where things are higher. Its value and stuff. But at the same time, a lot of that stuff is like, if we hadn't have caught that stuff, it would have just been thrown away.
Yeah. So, that was how we started.
Right.
That was the very beginning. We were in a place where people didn't value vintage, hipster clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, but I know a market where they would value this.
Right. And even not even a vintage stuff these days, just like a used item.
Right, sure.
And that there are people, there's a subset of Americans that are cool with buying like a good product, good quality item that isn't it's new, but they're
Right.
willing to pay a good price for it because it's still a usable item. It's like a backpack or that
a backpack or
a
those
saddle
or those shoes,
Right.
like those shoes that we both bought a pair of shoes, and we're like, it looks like someone who had like 20 pairs of shoes wore these a couple times, and then they were like, I'll just sell
Right.
them. Perfect, great, that's exactly what I want.
But, it really feels like we're just making cash out of thin air. There's very low. I mean, I think one reason why we got so excited about doing it just back in 2008 was it was just such low overhead.
That was the thing.
We could go to these thrift stores where they would sell stuff by the bag.
Yep.
And so it didn't cost a lot to buy the stuff.
Well, that was the number one
Right.
key. We were like, we don't have any
Right.
money. We need to make money.
Having to sell stuff on eBay, if you don't have a store, it doesn't cost you anything really.
Right.
I mean, there's
very
some
low.
listing fees, but it's so small, and you really only pay eBay when things sell.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was great, and the only thing though, we had to educate ourselves about stuff that sold. So,
Right.
So that took time. And then number two, and I think that's why people like have this dream of the wholesale store where it's just, it does take a lot of time to photograph and list.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've always said that. It's about, if you want to do the kind of store we have where it's scavenge items that don't cost you a lot, you do have to just list stuff. And there's really...
And that's the bottleneck.
And there's really no way around it. I mean, it's you can hire a person, but then you have to pay them more, and so you have to start balancing. Like, can I make more money this way?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It seems like most businesses in this world have like high capital costs.
Yes.
People that flip houses, or you start a restaurant,
Yep.
or you start any kind of business, and you have to like have a lot of money up front. Even cutting grass or something, because you got to have a truck and the equipment.
Yep.
I mean, this is like one of the only businesses that I've ever been a part of
Right.
where there's just so little money up front. It's all about our time.
Yeah, it's like I remember when we started doing video stuff on the web, and people will be like, I need the best camera and the best lenses and a lighting kit, and what the great thing is like right now you just need your phone.
Right.
Like, you already have a phone. You already probably have
Wait.
an internet connection.
Are you saying someone could do a video business with just a phone?
Well, yes. I'm talking about eBay.
eBay.
An
Oh, I
eBay
see.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm comparing
I got
it
you.
to when people
Yeah.
try to do, like, video
Sure.
businesses. And when we started, I just had a point-and-shoot, like, Kodak that somebody gave me.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. This is what I have. This is what I'm using. So, yeah. So it's a similar thing where you're just like...
Yeah. As thrifty people, the way we sell by just finding scavenge items, it's like a siren song. It's like I can't not follow that song because it's so
siren song.
beautiful, you know? Like, I don't have to pay for any of this stuff. I can go and I can find like, $1,000 it's worth of stuff and only pay like $20 for it. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, real quick. And just to be clear, $1,000 potential
dollars.
after I put in all the work and the its research. So it's when I'll watch those videos of guys that run those like Amazon stores or eBay stores, and they like have private labels, and they like make videos of like they'll fly to China. I mean, it kind of sounds exciting.
It's kind of amazing.
You fly to China and like you meet a supplier and you like design. Well, basically, it's just like a generic product, but you like put a name on it,
Right,
and so
right.
it's white labeled.
Yeah.
But the problem is, there's a lot of money involved in that. You got to put a lot of money up front.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they spend, $10,000. Who knows? To buy all that stuff, and then you hope it all sells. That is just.
It's just a different business model,
and it's more stress than I want to deal with.
It's just different, but like. It's fascinating to see people do those things on an individual level.
Yep.
To be able to, start doing those things, that's interesting. But for me, I don't want to sell commodity items. Like, that bores me to death.
Right.
I do have some commodity items in my store that we scavenge,
Sure.
new label, bulk
But that's
items.
different from. But
Yeah.
But it was a cool conversation that we're having online, and it's good to hear other people's experiments with it. And I mean, I guess I'm always trying to find I know there are people on at YouTube that kind of started doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I often don't hear then how it turns out. Like they make a lot of money at first and then they drop off, or they build a course, which sounds cool, but then like are they really still doing it themselves and selling, iPod cases again and again for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. Is it a sustainable business?
Right.
That's my curiosity.
Well, and I mean, this is like a tangent here, but there's different levels of sustainability too. There's economic sustainability, but there's also like mental,
wow, that's a thing.
Psychic,
yeah,
creative sustainability. And there are some people in the world, many of you listening, including us, are in that realm where you're just like, I need to be mentally engaged and interested in this stuff.
Right.
If I'm not, it feels like I work at an office.
I'll tell you the one person who I've seen that's pretty consistent with documenting his process is, we interviewed him a long time ago. I forgot his name, from online. It's sellingexperiment.com.
Oh, Ryan.
Yeah. And he was like a young guy who quit his like accounting job and started basically doing retail arbitrage.
Yeah,
and
for
now
Amazon.
He's turned into, I think he does a lot more wholesale now. But he rented like a big kind of warehouse space. He's got like a crew of guys who help him, and he still seems. It seems like it works for him, I guess, and he shares his numbers. But he also does this thing where he like, I don't think he sells a course, but he's also kind of turned it into a business where if he teaches other people, he makes it's money too. But he still seems excited by it. So,
well, that's the key. If you're still excited by
right.
it and you're like, this is still interesting and challenging, then go for it.
Yeah.
But when I see other models of, like you said, even like retail arbitrage, like it took me 2 seconds to be like, nope, this is not for me.
I think if you're excited about talking about like how many pieces that you sell per hour, I sold 100 pieces, then that's your job. If you're excited like me about like seeing some 1970s like art on a wall and like getting excited because no one else recognizes it,
right,
and buying it for $3 and selling it for $100, then
then that's
our model might be better for you.
Okay, so let's listen to voicemails you guys have called in about. You can always call the voicemail line, and the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hi guys, this is Sigal from Los Angeles, and thank you very much for including us in your forum and for being so gracious with your time and your advice. I wanted to ask a question, and the question is, when you go on eBay and you see how many views you have on an item, I notice that it actually doesn't count unique views. So if I go on there 10 times, that's 10 views. So it really doesn't give me a very accurate picture of whether or not my item is even interesting to anyone. And I just wondered if you had any input on that and how you actually know when your item is interesting to the public. All right, that's my question. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, very good point. Like, they're not showing you views from other people. So if I click on 100 times, there'll be 100 views. That's why we've said many times that we do not look at how many views an item gets. Number one, that's just because I don't think it's a good way to judge whether something's popular. And number two, I don't know about you guys, but we sell a lot of items that are just not popular. Like, we sell many, many items. A large portion of our store might only have 100 people on the planet Earth that might be interested in buying this thing.
Right.
So I don't care if something's been seen 100 times in a day. I just put it up there and I wait for one of those 100 people to actually find
buy it.
Yeah.
It's all about just sales.
Yeah. Right. And, if it is something that's kind of like, something that has a lot of competition on it, that's a popular item, I just do it by price, Right. It's like if the highest, if the average price is $30 and I make it $28, there's a pretty good chance it's going to sell,
Right.
Hey there, guys. This is Rita from Southern California. I'm under Rita Brad 2017 on eBay, new seller and new to your videos and podcasts. And I love the list and forget it way that you guys do things. I feel so relieved to have found sellers like you guys, and Suzanne Wells also is a little more like you guys, Suzanne A. Wells on YouTube. And I love the idea of selling beautiful old things, and hate the idea of selling $55 items a day to make a living. It sounds horrible. I don't know. So anyway, I love your style, but I'm in Southern California, and I might have storage issues. Space is a little more expensive here. So I was curious how many square feet of storage space you guys have total, and just trying to get an idea how much storage space I need and that sort of thing. So if you care to share, I'd love to hear. That's it. Thanks a lot for all you're doing. Bye.
Yep, these are good. It's questions. Our model personally is like, we do not let storage space stop us.
Right.
We live in a rural America where things are cheap.
Storage is cheap.
I mean, we have little buildings on our property. We're about to build a big building. I mean, like,
and the big building we're building is 40 by 24, right. So it's quite large.
So, and the cost of these buildings are small compared to if you were in an urban area. So I get that though. But if you live in a nice, cool a city, because if you enjoy that, then yes, storage is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So we did do an interview. If you search for a Mr. Customer Service,
yes,
we did an interview. It's with him, and if I remember, I'll put a link on our blog to this. And he actually lives in SoCal as well.
Yeah.
And he, his model is so much different from ours.
Mm-hmm.
He buys on the weekends at flea markets.
Right.
He has 2 days where he puts it all up on eBay. He puts them on auction.
Yeah.
And by Friday, like, everything's sold and packed and gone.
Right.
And then if something doesn't sell, he like brings the price way, way down and basically just clears it out. So he says all of his inventory is on one shelf.
Like a bookshelf.
Is like on a bookshelf up and down, and that's it, and that's his, like, and, I totally, it's respect that for people that have boundaries or that they've made for themselves, you know? Right. Like, I'm not going to allow my stuff to get beyond this point.
Yeah. So that is possible. And
he does well too.
We know people who sell in New York City, and they focus on things they can store.
Yeah.
We know people that sell, we've interviewed people that sell in an RV. They sell jewelry and scarves.
But, I think it's all about doing what you're doing, is asking the right questions. And that's, how much space in my home can I put towards this, its business, and then make a model that then can handle that.
Right, sure, exactly.
I think what a lot of, it's newcomers do is they realize how fun it is to buy stuff, how easy it is, how cheap it is, and that's what they focus on. And then they have it's room full of stuff that they haven't listed. They don't have a process to list it. They have so much stuff that even if they start to list 20 things a day, it's not enough because they just didn't think it through.
Yeah.
So, figure it out.
Move to a rural area. That's the answer.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. I wanted to thank you for all the information that you guys have provided for me to sell on eBay. But I just have a comment to share with you all. I sold an item through the global shipping program, and the buyer paid $39.99 for shipping alone for an item that cost $58.60. Upon receiving the item, the buyer claimed that the item was broken, and she tried to return it, and I accept returns, but she didn't want to pay for shipping. So I offered to give a partial payment, and she didn't want that. She just wanted to return it all together. I called eBay probably like 3 times to ask if I would be responsible for the global shipping fees provided by the buyer. And they said no. I called 3 times, and all 3 times I was told no. The buyer would have to provide for their own shipping label, that it's okay for me to accept the return. So I click accept return, and then I called eBay once again because now they want me to provide a shipping label for the buyer to return the item. I have never had a situation like this. I've been selling on eBay for a year, and it totally disappointed me that more or less nobody was honest about the procedure or how it would work if I were to accept the return through the global shipping program. So I was very disappointed with eBay. I changed all my currently active items to no out-of-nation shipping because I felt like this was hurting my business. I accept returns of any kind, as long as, my, side of the story is heard, and it seems like eBay just doesn't really listen to the seller. Anyways, I just wanted to, give you guys this information, and if you've heard of anything like that in the past, I appreciate all you do for us. Thank you. Have a wonderful vacation. Bye-bye.
Okay, number 1, if an item is damaged through global shipping program, you have no responsibility to accept a return or give them any money back. That is eBay's responsibility to pay for that item because they have insurance to get it to the person.
And so we always just tell a buyer, please contact eBay. And in every case we've ever seen, eBay deals with that. They have insurance on those packages and they just give the people their money back.
Yeah, number 1, if it's a domestic U.S. shipment and someone says it's broken and they want to return it, well, I don't want them to return a broken item anyway. So you're never going to be like, sure, ship it back. It's broken. So for global shipping, you just have to get eBay to cover it. I have Anchor support or whatever concierge support they have now is very good about being like, cool, we'll close the case, it's done. The regular support, I've had issues with them before where I've had to call several times, like you said, and say, you guys need to close this case. It's global shipping program. It's damaged. Right. They sent a photo, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And
closed.
In every case we've had, if someone leaves us bad feedback because an item got broken on global shipping,
we get it removed.
It's removed.
Yep.
If they complain about how much it costs to ship, then we get that. It's removed.
I had someone this week complain about my restocking fee, and I had that removed too. So,
right, because all that stuff is up front when they buy. Right. If they don't want to pay a restocking fee, if they don't want to pay the global shipping fee, then they just don't need to buy it.
Yeah. So just when someone has a damaged item and they've sent you a photo, there's no need to be like, send it back. Like, it doesn't need to be sent back. You need to either refund them or eBay refunds them. That's just how it... And then you claim insurance, or eBay claims their insurance.
Right. I mean, just to be clear, on global shipping, we never have to refund anything.
No.
Yeah.
Because it's right. You get it to Kentucky. Supposedly, they're supposed to inspect it. I don't know if they do or not. And then they get it to the following country, and that's their responsibility.
Hey, Jane Ryan. I was just calling because I had my first Goodwill outlet experience, and I'm calling to talk about it because it was crazy. It was overwhelming, but also super cool. And I'm sure you said this, but for anyone who goes, bring gloves because it can be really dirty. But I don't know if the prices are the same at every Goodwill, but for our clothes, I think it's $1.39 per pound. But then if you hit 50 pounds, the price goes down to 59 cents per pound. So I left there with 52 pounds of clothes, and I spent about $35. And in there, I found my first ever starter jacket, and it's like an Olympic version. So I was really stoked about that. And this was my second time going, actually. I went on Saturday, and I noticed that the exact same people were there doing the same things they were on Saturday. So it was kind of interesting to see what different people do and see what different people grab. But it was wild, and I recommend if anybody's close, they should go because it's definitely an experience. But just be prepared and also eat before, because I went in, was probably in there for 4 hours and I hadn't eaten anything all day. So by the end of it, I was kind of cranky, but I'm really excited to go list all this stuff because there's a lot of good things in there. So go check it out if you haven't been to one. And if you're driving by somewhere, stop in even if you're in a different city, because it's, like I said, worth the experience. So just wanted to tell everybody the time I had, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you.
Okay, yes, that is great advice. Bring gloves. Wear gloves. Wear, like, some kind of grippy work gloves, because those bins can be dirty. But I'll pull stuff out of there and then wash it,
I mean, to be fair, we've only been to those bin places a couple times, 2 or 3 times. I just find, like, it kicks in my, like, competitive nature. It
Jay gets really pissed at
makes me really upset, because there are the regulars there who, like, kind of know how it works, and they kind of lock everybody out, and they'll, like, freeze, they'll be like,
they'll dominate a bin.
Whole bin is mine. I mean, in a reality, I'm like, that bin's not yours. Like, this is open to anyone, and I'll get really aggressive
Jay
about
gets
it.
mad.
I hate it.
Yeah.
And then, so then I'll kind of chill out some and just go to the places where no one else cares about.
I found amazing stuff in bins that nobody was looking through.
But I find, like, we find plenty of stuff at other places without all the competitive.
Right.
Although, nature,
maybe not all the bin places are like that. Although I have a feeling that they are.
I think. I mean, and it would make sense. I mean, if I was a bin person, why not just make that? It's my job.
Your source.
I go every day. Exactly. I learn how it is. People know who I am.
Yep.
I can kind of scare off it's new people. I mean, like, that's. I get why that exists.
Yeah.
I just we like to do this for the kind of the fun. So I think auctions is the right kind of competitiveness, because everyone has a shot at the same item. Right. It's just about who wants to spend more. That I can get into, because then it's just a numbers game. You know? It's not about, like, elbowing people. Like, if you remember, we went to that one in Brooklyn, and there was horrible. That lady. No, there was that guy.
Yep.
He had showed up right before we did.
Yep.
He had just gone to bins and just emptied them all out into a big pile in front of him. He had this big pile of shoes, and he was just slowly going through them. And if you tried to go to his pile, he'd be like, no, these are all mine.
These are mine. I'm buying all of them.
And the people are working there, like, whatever. Like, that's what he says. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, like, they don't regulate it.
And there was that one lady that when you tried to get a purse, she was like, this whole bin is mine.
Yeah, this whole bin is mine.
Like, what are you going to do? Start fighting with her? It's like, and so
it's just very territorial.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had a great time.
Yeah. No.
And,
if you get into that,
you should, that's good advice. Bring gloves.
Yeah.
Eat your lunch or breakfast before.
That's right.
Because, look, I say that for auctions and for flea markets. When you're like, I'm about to spend half a day here, I got to eat. And I got to be prepared, and I got to have my coffee. Because if you don't, you're like, argh.
But again, that's why I enjoy auctions, because they'll always have, like, a food truck or, like, a little church
auctions
group that sells stuff.
Yeah, a little snack bar. It's funny.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Danny Oakes, longtime listener, first-time caller. I just had an interesting thing happen. I just got back from vacation, and I was trying to change my handling time back to 1-day handling time. And the page was just spinning. I, selected one thing, and it just wasn't updating. So I called eBay and talked to the first representative, who sent me on to the second representative, and he was very helpful. So what he had me do, this saves a ton of time, because it took me, several hours to go to the bulk editor and change my handling time, because I have just over 1,000 listings and a lot of different shipping policies. So he had me go to active listings, go to business policies, and then it shows all of your active listings and your policies, your business policies. And you can see how many listings are under each shipping policy, and you can update it there. It took me about 30 minutes to do all of the different 3 pages of policies, shipping policies that I have, as opposed to the 3+ hours that I spent in the bulk editor before. And I got through every single type of shipping thing that I had. So hopefully that adds value and is helpful to you guys and to your listeners. So keep up the great work. I love the podcast, and hope to visit the Shenandoah Valley soon to rent one of your vacation rentals. So you guys take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so if you have business policies turned on, that's how you can do it. You edit your handling time through business policies. For all the people like us who don't have business policies turned on because we don't like them and they don't work for us, we have to do it through the bulk editor. And the bulk editor should not have taken you hours and hours for just 1,000 listings, but maybe it's because there was some weird bug happening.
Right, because you can do 300 at
200
at a time.
Now it's 200. It used to be 500.
Right.
So it does take me an hour to do it.
And maybe we should check out business policies again. I just remember when we did one time, we have such different kinds of items that we would need so many different kinds of policies to handle all those different kind of items because that's the way it seemed to us. It seemed like business policies are perfect. It's like if you only sell like shoes or if you only sell shirts.
And you're like, I know every shirt is 4 ounces. End of story, you know?
Yeah. We just have too many items that just the shipping is kind of kooky because they're big items, heavy items, they fit in strange boxes, that kind of thing.
So, yep. If you have business policies turned on, it's pretty fast.
Hey, Scavengers. This is Chris from Bend, Oregon. Having a little panic attack in my garage. I am going through inventory, and I have noticed that a few things have been pulled from my inventory. I tried to do the set it and forget it, and apparently eBay's pulling stuff randomly. I mean, I have half shelves cleared off now that I have to relist. And I was just wondering if you guys happen to run into anything like that, because I know that you have some items that are a little bit older, getting into like 2 to 3 years. And I was wondering, I'm trying to diagnose what the problem is, and some of my items are newer and some of my items are older. So I was just wondering if you guys ran into that, or maybe have seen it on the boards. I haven't. I tried Googling it, and I can't seem to find anything. Love the podcast. Keep it up, and I'll call you soon.
So I guess what he is saying is when he says things are gone, he doesn't mean that the actual physical inventory is gone, just off of his store. Like
it's not on eBay.
Anymore. So we actually don't know that. We're about to, build this big warehouse, and we're going to actually build an inventory system, which means we're going to go through every single item and give it like a location. So we're going to check and see what's on and what's off. We have never personally seen items get taken off of eBay, so we don't know if we have those kind of items in our inventory where they're just sitting there, but no one can buy them.
I've heard other sellers, like Cindy from Amazing Taste, is like, they went through and did an inventory, and they're like, you'd be amazed how much stuff isn't on there.
Right.
But I don't know.
And Retro WV Treasures says that he's like, you just wait, you're going to have like a third of your inventory not listed, which is amazing to me because in our store, we have almost 6,000 items that are
what couldn't be listed?
Listed on eBay. I'm like, wow, do we have many more than that? So we're going to see.
Well, also, we don't, our stuff is good till canceled.
Right.
So I'm never like, 30 days are up and I need to relist stuff is literally just listed.
So we're going to find out,
we'll see.
We're going to go through and we'll share with people if there are lots of items that are in our inventory but haven't been taken down off of our eBay store. My hypothesis is a lot of people, they try and do that thing where they trick eBay by listing stuff.
Not even relisting, selling is similar.
Yeah, every 30 days, and I just feel like during those times things can get forgotten.
Things can get dropped.
We have always done listed and forget it. So there's, unless eBay is just canceling items and not telling us, I don't see how it could happen.
Right.
But let's see.
We'll see.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Patrick from Denver, Colorado. I wanted to know if you make money off of either of your blogs and whether you would share that information with us as you are so transparent with your finances. Just curious if you do, how much it is, if you've put a concerted effort to maybe making that one of your income streams, and if not, why not? Do you have an interest in like affiliate links or things like that? Thanks very much for all the information and community you have. Keep it up. Thanks.
So yeah, this is a good question. So do we make money off of our two sites? One is scavengerlife.com and the other is shampooandbooze.com.
Which is also a podcast.
And the answer is essentially no. We make enough off the sites to pay for like some guy to host it and to manage to make sure a WordPress site's kind of up to date.
The forum gets run.
Yeah. I think we probably make $400 a month.
I mean,
on a good month,
maximum.
And that includes like we have a couple Google ads. We do have a couple of sponsors on the sidebar, and
I do
YouTube
have affiliate links here and there if we link to something on eBay.
And honestly, it's just, it'd be great if we can make like a bunch of money off of our blogs because we put a lot of time and effort into,
I mean, I edit the podcast every single week.
Because
that helps me keep going.
And, you hear about these people that have these like websites and they're making like, tens of thousands of dollars from affiliate links. And I'm just like,
how do you do that?
I don't know. I think maybe our audience, because we're all scavengers, there aren't things we can link to where people are like getting credit cards and Bluehost links and stuff. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how people do it. But the blog for us essentially in the podcast is more fun for us. We like the community, and as long as it pays for itself.
It pays for itself. That's
the big thing. If it was costing us its money to run a forum and all this stuff, then it would be much less fun than it is.
Yeah. I mean, we spend to do hosting and to have someone maintain our WordPress forum. It's like $100 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. So,
Yeah.
And it used to be on Blogger and it was free, but we didn't really have a forum for people to talk and stuff. So
yeah,
so we do have advertising. We have a Ting link on the sidebar that helps us a lot. If you sign up for Ting, that's one of our advertisers. It's not a lot, but like you said, it evens itself out.
Yeah, I feel like if we were trying to make this into a business, it would be all about selling courses. Like we would write books or have some video course that you could get for $4.99, and that's $499.
Right.
But we don't really like doing that. So,
hey, how's it going, Jay and Ryan? This is Horizon Picks calling out of Pennsylvania. Just wanted to ask a question about the anchor support option on the higher level store subscription. Been having, in the last 2 weeks, I have been the victim of two, seems like faulty returns. Buyers, both electrical type items, basically bought my, very nice, restored electrical pieces, electronics. One was a Bose sound system. The other was another computer component. Anyway, mine were nice and bright and shiny and sent off. And then, they opened a return and sent back something that was clearly not the original and had wear and damage and just totally, not the same. I would probably say about an hour total time on tech support with eBay, and it kind of seems clear that these reps are, I did kind of hang up, try it again, tried to get somebody that would really kind of look at this, escalated to a case, provided photos, what I sent, what I got back. The actual packages also were returned from an alternate address, not the form that was shipped to, all this stuff. And in the end, sided with the buyers, possible defects. I did look into appeal, but their take was pretty much they do not look at photos and they basically go with communication. So if a buyer just, goes mute and doesn't kind of say anything, they did side with the buyer on both of these. So, my nice shiny items were gotten for free and really kind of down about it. So interested in any options or what's different about anchor support that you've experienced, because this seems really to be kind of this bait and switch kind of thing, kind of scam that people can really get over. So it isn't really about the money, it's more about the principle that, they've gotten that stuff. So anywho, love the podcast, keep it going. I would love your input. Thanks.
So yeah, number one, that sucks. When a seller does that, I don't know if that's ever happened to us. If someone's done a bait and switch, like bought an item
never had that
and
happen.
Returned. Although I do hear about it happening with electronics.
Yes.
I guess that's a thing, especially with electronic parts. And I can see how that's kind of like a weak spot in the return system, because it basically becomes he said, she said.
But a lot of electronic sellers will take a picture of the serial number. And if the serial number is different, then that can help your case. Not just like, this looks different. It's like, this is a different serial number.
So two things here. Number one is, if you're finding like selling a certain kind of item is encouraging people to do that, then I would just stop selling that item.
It sucks to say that, but it's true.
Or right? Learn about, doing the whole like...
serial number,
or people buy like little stickers on it. I don't know.
Something.
I'm sure if you Google it, people find other ways. The other thing is too so does the anchor support provide better service? It just feels like when you call, they're more
empowered to do stuff, and they know the rules. Like anchor support, as I've said before, should be all the eBay reps should be like that. End of story. eBay should run their company that way, where you get a rep who's like, yep, I totally see what you're saying. Not saying, they should side with the seller all the time, but they're like gonna clearly state the rules. They're gonna look at those photos when you get on the phone with them, be like, yep, I see the photos they sent. Let's get this escalated.
And I don't know, sometimes I feel like they can see if a buyer has a history of doing this. Yeah. They never tell us that, but I don't know, but I was wonder if they're reading about someone's account and then that informs how they handle it,
Yeah.
But if anything, even if we do lose a case and we think it's not our fault, we'll just eat it. But what's important to us is that it's been documented that we have a problem it's with that. So if a buyer does have a habit of doing that, if they're documenting that, they did it the other time too, isn't it weird how the same thing keeps happening?
They keep returning these high-end items.
I feel like eBay then will do something about that.
Right.
So I know this doesn't really solve your problems, but
I
don't know. That's some more food for thought.
Okay, that's it for the podcast this week. You can check out the blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can leave a question or a comment on the voicemail line. Again, the phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video by Steven Schultz. He shows you what he sold and how much he sold it for. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episodes. You can listen to our other podcast about our Airbnb rental business, shampooandbooze.com. You can also rent our vacation farmhouse or other new house. The link is on the sidebar of both of our blogs, and we'd love to have you here. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Bye.